Continuamos nuestras reflexiones sobre el corazón de San José.
We continue with our reflections about the heart of Saint Joseph. Today we will speak about Saint Joseph, protector of the Holy Family. Saint Joseph, as the virginal spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary and as virginal father of the Son of God made man in the womb of the Blessed Mother, had the mission of being the head and protector, guide and provider of the Holy Family. One of the missions that the Father entrusts to him was the protection of the mother and the child. What do we understand as someone who's a protector? It's a person who protects, shields, shelters, cares for all of the interests, and defends life and helps someone. In this case, Jesus and the Blessed Virgin Mary, from all the dangers and threats that they would confront throughout their earthly life. Saint Joseph lived his mission of being protector of the Holy Family with the greatness and courage of his heart, that bravery that only love can give, and only love sustains. Given the greatness of his vocation of being protector of the Holy Family, of caring for them and all of their dimensions, we can consequently deduce that God provided Saint Joseph with a grace and with virtues equally proportional to such a great mission. Also, he gave him the authority and fortitude, courage and discernment, wisdom to fulfill the mission of being guardian and protector, first of the virginal maternity of Our Lady, then the life of the child, and also the life of his mother, and even his death. His protective gaze would be fixed on protecting the life and also protect everything that would be necessary for the fulfillment of the plan of salvation. Yes, as I told you in the reflection yesterday, God entrusts to Saint Joseph being the guardian and protector of the mystery of the Incarnation, whose fulfillment had been awaited for many generations in the line of David and all of the house of Israel. And at the same time, he entrusts to his care everything on which would depend the fulfillment of this mystery in the history of the people of God. The paternity of Saint Joseph of Nazareth, St. Paul VI pointed out that Saint Joseph concretely expressed his fatherhood by making his life a sacrificial service to the mystery of the Incarnation and its redemptive purpose. He employed his legal authority over the Holy Family to devote himself completely to them in his life and work. He turned his human vocation to domestic love into a superhuman oblation of himself, his heart, and all his abilities, a love placed at the service of the Messiah, who was growing to maturity in his home. Saint Joseph, St. John Paul II makes more precise, has been called by God to directly serve the person and the mission of Jesus through the exercise of his paternity. In this way, he cooperates in the fullness of times in the great mystery of the redemption and is truly a minister of salvation. Here, what is a beautiful truth is shown to us about Saint Joseph, about his paternity. The paternity of Saint Joseph entails the mission of authority, and the authority is a vocation of service, not power. His paternal authority, as every authority derived from God, is a gift to serve and to care for one's own. The authority of Saint Joseph as head of the Holy Family is a divine instrument so that he could fulfill the mission of guiding, protecting, caring for, and defending the Holy Family. The authority of Saint Joseph, like of every father in a Christian home, should be at the service for the good of his own, and therefore it has various characteristics. At least I will speak about 3 of them. Above all, it is lived in humility, not placing oneself above one's own but rather as a servant of the Holy Family. He lived to serve them and to protect them, and his authority was marked by this full consciousness that to serve is to reign, and to reign is to serve. That is, to govern his home, to govern the Holy Family, he had to become the smallest, because in the kingdom of heaven, which is inaugurated in the life of the Holy Family, is fulfilled what Jesus would say in his public life, referring himself to the use of authority with a Christian vision. The Lord said, it's not like this amongst you, but the one who wants to be great amongst you will be your servant, and the one who wants to be first among you will be your servant. How did Jesus show this authority as he began to form his new family, the church? While he, being the Lord of Lords, a Holy Thursday in the cenacle, he knelt before his apostles to wash their feet and teach them that if they would be heads in the church spread in so many different places, they would have to be humble, inclining themselves, bowing themselves, serving his children, the new disciples that they would engender. Could Jesus have seen St. Joseph wash the feet of Our Lady and the child in the house of Nazareth, and must have learned this gesture of humility, of paternal humility from his father? Second, authority should entail the virtue of fortitude, to not allow oneself to be demolished before the most adverse circumstances, but rather St. Joseph would confront them full of this cardinal virtue. To be able to protect the Holy Family, he had to possess the virtue of fortitude. This virtue helps the human heart to overcome fear and human weakness before danger, before suffering, or difficult situations. In St. Joseph, we can find a courageous man, strong, capable of taking the necessary risks to fulfill his mission of protecting the Holy Family, of not allowing any danger to take place, of not exposing them to the threats of the malignant one or the threats of the world. This virtue would grow in the measure that he confronted with love and courage the great challenges and threats that his family would face. It would grow every time that, as he risked himself to save them, he listened in his interior the voice of the Father who would tell him, "Have courage. Do not be afraid. I am with you." Every time that he remembered that, so much so as the Annunciation to the Blessed Virgin Mary, to his own Annunciation, the words of the angel had begun, telling them, "Do not be afraid. Courage, have courage. Do not be afraid. I am with you." They're also the first words that the risen Christ would tell his apostles who were fearful, and they hid in the cenacle behind locked doors. Only the strong and courageous heart that knows how to recognize and confront the dangers that his own risk is capable of having the mission of being head, spouse, father, and protector. With this, I'd like to call all fathers of families to tell them the world today needs courageous men that know that their authority is a service and a call to overcome the fear of the great battles that are taking place against the family today, and to know how to draw forth through new paths and sometimes unexpected paths their own families to protect them. In a society in which so many men avoid and evade their obligations towards their spouses, children, and family members, St. Joseph shines as a model of courage and fortitude. We can mention a few points. He traveled many kilometers under cold, wind, and a woman who was pregnant to fulfill the law of the senses, at the same time to fulfill the sacred scriptures. He knocked on the doors, and in Bethlehem, and no one allowed Our Lady to give birth in their homes. He didn't remain with arms crossed, but rather he found as a house, a refuge, be it a barn, so that the child Jesus could be born. And we could imagine him fixing that cave, fixing it with that grass and with the hay, and making the little manger for the child Jesus. He got up with haste to flee to Egypt and save the child Jesus from the threatening and killing threats of King Herod. He would always protect the mother and the child, especially in the dangers of the desert. We could think of the uncertainties and the anguishes of exile, having to provide when they didn't have anything, of looking for a place where they could give them a home in Egypt, to Our Lady and the Lord, and everything that entails an exile, to live amongst the unknown and look for work, and at the same time preserve, protect the hidden life of Jesus and Mary. What would be these years in exile? We don't know. But yes, we are convinced that the mother and the child felt very secure next to that man who was humble, hardworking, courageous, a protector and provider of the Holy Family. We can see his courage having to confront so many difficulties, so many challenges. And St. Joseph, in each one of them, stayed afoot and confronted the obstacles with courage, strong, manly courage. And the third characteristic I'd like to mention today is the silent heart of St. Joseph. St. Joseph lived in the silent listening to the will of God the Father for the Holy Family. The silence of St. Joseph was a powerful means to serve and protect his own. St. Joseph is a man of silence, but not of a sterile silence or a selfish, retracted, or isolated from his own. No, it's a silence immensely fecund and powerful because it's full of attentive listening to every word of God, to the reading, attentive reading of every sign, of every warning, the reading of the realities, or the reasons or the situations that would take him to make an authentic discernment for the greater good and for the child and the mother. It's a silence that protects because it listens. It's the silence that protects because it listens. Not only listening to the designs of God, not only the hearts entrusted to him, that he has to listen to them, but also brothers and sisters, he also listens in that silence, protective silence of St. Joseph. He also listens to the sounds of the enemy serpent that sometimes are very obvious with strong growls when it wants to intimidate its enemies, or mockings, or subtle provocations to want to trick the prey, or when it feels trapped by someone whom it considers an enemy, it's capable of emitting a terrible, frightening roar. And we see this in the Gospels with all those who were possessed. How much would St. Joseph have to learn to listen this terrible sound of the serpent and of the human instruments that the devil could use to do harm to Jesus and Mary? So how did he have to listen to this horrible sound to protect Jesus and Mary? St. Joseph was conscious that the enemy wanted to end the life of Jesus, and also he wanted to end the life of the Blessed Virgin Mary. He was conscious that he wanted to end the life of Jesus from the moment of his birth, when they already want to kill him. And consequently, brothers and sisters, they would have also ended with the life of Our Lady. because she is so much hated by Satan, as is her son, the Redeemer, who had to fulfill his mission in the midst of the so many attempts of Satan against his life and to impede him and to fulfill what he needed to fulfill. So all the fury of the enemy was focused on the incarnation. He could not allow that the Son of God made man would save and redeem man. He could not allow that he would save and redeem all of humanity. And for that, he had to impede it in so many ways. He would end his life and be an obstacle to the work of salvation. Since he was a child, the forces of evil are thrust against the little child that was born in Bethlehem through darkness and the sin of man. The serpent would persecute the life of the mother and the child. Saint Joseph listens to the three wise men and the angel who warned them of this threat, and his mission would be, like a good protector, to act, to protect. Saint Joseph, a silent man, a man of listening, of profound and keen discernment, lives his vocation of protector with a most sublime and excellent prudence. He could only speak with his wife, the Blessed Virgin Mary, and with his son. He can only give them the gift of his authority, of his paternal and spousal word, because his word possessed authority given by God to fulfill his mission. And also, he possessed it by his perfect coherency of life. Coherency, brothers and sisters, is the foundation of authority. Fathers, learn from Saint Joseph to be men of listening, wise men and a profound discernment to know what is the will of God for your families, but also to know the sounds of the serpent that draws close to your homes. If God the Father has given you the service of authority in your families, it cannot be born from your own desires, tastes, or whims, or exercised according to your own convenience. No. The authority is a gift of service. Authority is for the good of the family, the good of your families. It's so that you can take care of them and protect them from all that threatens them. So much so in their souls as in their bodies. Everything that threatens family relationships. The authority that the Lord has granted you is to protect the life of your families in the world today. Saint Joseph, protector of the Holy Families, teach us to be courageous, to defend our families.